Hi guys, so this is our theme lesson. It's our first lesson of theme. So at the start of the year we did our geography project, all about land of hope and glory, and then we've done our computing project, which is a design and technology, where we made our projects on the makey kits, and did a fantastic job of those. So now we're going to do a history topic, and our history topic is all about buildings and settlements. So what I'm going to do, what the plan is we're going to take you right through history, and we're going to be looking at buildings and settlements throughout history. So we're going to start, we're going to look at our big timeline. So I pulled it down from our classroom. So we've got a British history timeline. We're going to start in early Britain today, but we're going to move to Roman Britain, and then we're going to go to Anglo-Saxon Britain. Then I've got the next part of our map of our timeline. So we're going to go to Viking Britain, to medieval Britain, maybe look at some churches, and to Tudor Britain, Stuart Britain, and then we're going to go. Oh, here we go. To Georgian Britain, Victorian Britain, and then we're going to look at the modern day, so 20th century and 21st century. We're going to look at Kendal to see what type of buildings we can find in there, knocking things over. So let's have a look then at some of the skills that I want us to learn throughout our whole topic, and then we'll get into what we're going to learn about the Stone Age today. So let's start off with some of the skills that I want you to pick up during our buildings and settlements topic. So our 4 history skills are to investigate and interpret the past, which we'll be doing in every single lesson. So we're going to be investigating especially the settlements and the buildings of each period of British history. We're going to build an overview of world history. So we're going to be concentrating mainly on Britain, but I might, towards the end of the topic, talk about maybe the Shang dynasty or the Mayans, and think about what buildings they had as well. But we'll be mainly focusing on British history. And we're going to understand chronology. So that's going to happen in every lesson. And over the whole topic, we'll have an understanding from prehistory all the way up to the 21st century, which we're in now. Okay, and then we're going to communicate historically as well. So in every lesson I'm going to give you a little task, so maybe it'll be a bit of research, but we're going to start to build up a lovely picture of how to communicate historically, and how we're going to show things like dates and things like things about how we found out about the past, and how people show that in maybe museums and things like that. So what I'm imagining is each lesson builds on the last one, so we're going to go through the whole of British history, and what I'm thinking is maybe you can produce a lovely book presenting how buildings have developed throughout the ages. So you can maybe get some really nice paper once you've done your research to do a lovely page on each period of history. That's one option. So you could, or you could just keep your tasks on Seesaw, and you can have your periods of history going through your Seesaw activities for your theme lessons. So let's get ready then. Let's start to think about, first of all about the Stone Age. So I'm going to teach you about the Stone Age. So my plan is on each lesson to teach you about the Stone Age. So the next lesson will be all about the Romans, and then we'll focus on buildings. Okay, so here's a little presentation all about the Stone Age. So some of this you might know already, but I'm going to read through the slides, and hopefully you'll learn something new about the Stone Age. So your main aim of this section of the video is to find out about the Stone Age. So what does prehistoric mean? Maybe you can pause the video, have a think, what does prehistoric mean? About breaking down that word. Prehistoric comes from prehistory. It means a time before written words existed. There is no recorded history of this time that we can read, just clues left behind that archaeologists have to interpret. That's our first learning objective, to interpret the past. So maybe we're acting like archaeologists. So when was the Stone Age? The Stone Age occurs The Stone Age covers a huge period of time, over 3 million years. The Stone Age starts from when the first human-like animals came into existence. The earliest evidence has been found in Africa. Early humans arrived in Britain more than 800,000 years ago, but Britain has not been constantly lived in since that time due to climate changes. The ice and the cold temperatures during the last period of time, known as the Ice Age, meant that early humans left Britain in search of warmer climates. At this time, Britain was an island, so they could walk across the land into Europe and Africa. The Stone Age is broken down into smaller time periods. So you've got the Paleolithic, around 3 million BC. During this long period of time, the earliest hominids, humans or close relatives of humans, the Homo habilis, who used simple stone tools, slowly developed into the modern humans we call Homo sapiens. Britain was still connected by land to France and Denmark. Then we moved on to the Mesolithic, around 10,000 BC. People led largely nomadic lives as hunter-gatherers, constantly on the move in order to survive. It was during this time that Britain became an island. Then we've got Neolithic, around 4,500 BC to 2,400 BC. Remember, BC means before Christ. This is the time when farming began, pottery was developed, and villages were built. So that's when we started to talk about settlements and buildings. So why is it called the Stone Age? The Stone Age is so called because the earliest humans used stone to make tools with a sharp edge or point. Stone was the material predominantly used for tools throughout the Stone Age. So which countries were populated? So as we said, it started in Africa, and you can see Africa on the map there. If I show you here, and then we can see Britain is here. Okay, so today there are over 7 billion people in the world. 7,000,000,000,000. Even at the peak of the Stone Age, it was likely that there were less than 5 million people. So there's a lot of zeros less than 7 billion. About 2 million years ago, Homo habilis appeared in Eastern Africa. About 1.5 million years ago, Homo erectus were living in the southern Caucasus, Caucasus and northern China. You can see the dots there on the map where it started to spread again. By 400,000 years ago, the early human population had spread to Indonesia and Europe. So Indonesia is down here, and you can see this spread into Europe now as well. Okay, you can see all the dots arriving now. By 27,000 years ago, they had set foot in Australia, Poland, Japan and Siberia. Okay, you can see all these new dots here. Australia down here. It wasn't until around 10,000 BC that early humans reached North and South America by the Bering Land Bridge that at the time connected Siberia and North America. So what type of houses did they live in? Now this bit's going to be really important for your task today, so you need to make sure that we listen really carefully to this bit. So you can see the different types of houses here. So this depended on the time and the country. So in Britain, archaeologists have found evidence of 4 different types of dwelling. Okay. So during the Paleolithic time period, when the ice came, some early humans sheltered from the cold in caves. Why build your own house when there's one already available? Evidence found in Howick from Mesolithic times indicates a circular structure made from wooden posts. There are no existing houses remaining, but archaeologists have found marks in the ground that they believe were made from the timber poles. The frame may have been round or conical, like a teepee. They may have used animal skin, thatch, or turf to cover the frame. There was evidence that the floor was covered with a layer of moss, reeds, and other soft plant material. Now, like we said on this one, like we said at the start, they were early humans were nomadic, which meant that they moved around very quickly. So this type of building could have, or home could be quickly put together, put on the back of a horse, or even the back of, they could carry it themselves, and moved in their small group or their small family, and moved to another area where there's more food or more shelter, or when the weather changes. So what evidence suggests that houses were usually rectangular and constructed from timber in the Neolithic period. None of these houses remain, but we can see the foundations. Some houses use wattle and doob for walls and thatched roofs. There was evidence that the floor was covered with a layer of moss, reeds, and other soft plant material, maybe to make it a little bit more comfortable. Wattle and doob, a mixture of manure, which is poo, clay, mud, and hay stuck. I can't read that because my head is that have been woven in and out of the timber frames. Okay, some houses in the Neolithic period, like those uncovered at Skara Brae, were built from stones. They were built into mounds of rubbish known as midden. This could include small stones, shells, mud, and animal bones. It would provide some stability as well as insulation. The houses were usually round. They had beds and storage, shelves, and a hearth in the middle. So you can think about the different. So as the time period moved on, I think these houses, this house and this house, you wouldn't be moving that around all the time. So they started to settle. So instead of their buildings being nomadic, they started to think, well, actually, this is my village, this is my little area now, and they maybe started to farm animals and things like that. So they didn't need to keep moving around anymore. They had everything they needed where they were. So what clothes did they wear? So people wore animal skins to keep them warm, sewn together using bone needles. The fine bone needles that have been found were probably used for embroidery as well. The bodies of a boy and a girl buried around 28,000 years ago in Russia were found with thousands of ivory beads and fox teeth covering them, work that would have taken years to complete. We also know that people were weaving fabric back then, which could have been used for clothes, and dyeing spun plant fibres different colours. So maybe fashion started a lot earlier than you might think. So what food did they eat? Animals were the main source of food. They would eat all of the animals. When all the meat was stripped off their bones, the bones would be smashed to the marrow. Smashed so the marrow could be eaten from the inside. Marrow is high in fat and would have been a good energy source. Did you know? Some archaeologists believe that early humans would have cut open the stomach of an animal and eaten their last meal. Ooh. So, although it is thought that farming largely began in the Neolithic time, when many more plant-based foods became part of people's diets, there is evidence that people were eating foods such as beans, seeds, lentils, nuts, and grains over 23,000 years ago in the Paleolithic period. Their diet was a lot more varied than you might think, including many plants that today we treat as weeds. Sunflower seeds, nettle leaves, and hazelnuts. How did they communicate? So in our arts topic after Easter, we'll be looking at this in a little bit more detail. So symbols have been found alongside cave paintings in Europe, used repeatedly in the same clusters in different caves. Similar symbols have also been found on jewellery, suggesting that there was possibly a communication system in existence 30,000 years ago. So that means they had a way of talking to each other or communicating or writing things down. So what did they actually do then? So they made tools and weapons, made jewellery, dug for flint, painted, like the paintings we can see today in caves, and that's quite famous cave paintings, prepared animal skins to make clothes, made thread from plant fibres and dyed it, hunted and gathered food, started fires to cook food and keep warm, made objects out of clay, hunted and gathered food. Did you know the origins of the domestic dog can be traced back to the Stone Age? Dogs would help the hunting. Graves have been found where dogs had been buried with tools like they buried humans with. This tells us that dogs were treated like part of the family. And that's all the information I'm going to give you about Stone Age. So let me tell you what the task is. So for today's theme lesson, your task is to find, or you could even draw, which I would possibly prefer, a picture of a Stone Age building. So you can choose the teepee style, or the round building, or the rectangular building, and draw a picture of it, and then label it with all the different features that it might have. And then as an extra task, what you could do is write an information page all about that building. And then if you're feeling very, very creative, then you could create a model of that type of building that you've chosen to write about or to draw. So good luck, and I really look forward to seeing your creations.